When I was first introduced to the cheap yellow display, I had absolutely no idea how much potential this thing really had. The first time I covered the cheap yellow display was almost 2 years ago now, but developers are still out there making software for this thing and making it even better every single day. We all love the cheap yellow display because it only costs about $15 on Amazon with overnight shipping, and it's got an ESP32 with a touchscreen, which makes it a very capable little device. And today, we're going to go past the Hello World apps, and I'm going to show you how to install the HaleHound Firmware, which converts the cheap yellow display into an amazing network auditing tool. If you're just getting into network or cybersecurity, this tool will be invaluable to learn the basics. And be sure to stick around till the end, because during the filming of this video, HaleHound actually added even more features. Alright, that's enough intro, let's get right into it. Alright, so before we dive in, this is a crucial reminder. This video is for educational and ethical purposes only. We are working strictly within a lab environment on hardware and networks that I own and have permission to test. This is me giving myself permission to test all of my own devices. Never use these tools on networks without explicit authorization. Alright, so let's switch to the top-down camera so you guys can get a hands-on look to see what the cheap yellow display is all about. Now, I have a fancy 3D printed case that I printed for this guy, but let's take that off, and nobody wants to look at a Band-Aid all day, so let's go ahead and take care of that. Oh yeah, that's much better. So let's go ahead and take this guy apart. I've got my new Fantic Nex E2 Ultra. We're gonna try it out today. Alright, so, got the torque to take it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. Pop the cover off here. This is a great little case. I really think it came out good. I love this transparent, like, uranium glass PETG. It looks fantastic, and it's even got the heat set brass inserts, makes it even easier to take it apart and put it back together. So here we have the cheap yellow display. Very, very simple. It has the ESP32 room right there, and then we have all sorts of connectors in here for all sorts of stuff. There's a speaker connector down here. This is your boot and reset buttons over here. This is an ESP32 2432S028. If you actually search that on Amazon, you'll find this exact board, which makes life a little bit easier. You've got your customary 4-pin connector right here. We have a USB-C right there, which is the best USB, and then we've got a micro USB, which is the worst USB. It's got an SD card slot right there, as you'd expect, and that's a multicolor NeoPixel right there. So just in case you're curious, again, this does use the ESP32 Room 32 module, which is a dual-core MCU. It's got integrated Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. It sports a 2.8-inch color LCD screen with a resolution of 240 by 320. Again, for about $15, these things are an absolute steal. It's such a great little device. I'm so glad the community decided to rally around it because it's so versatile. You plug a battery and some peripherals into it, and you've got most of the features of a Flipper Zero. It's crazy. All right, so I'm going to put this thing back together and head back to the desktop and get this thing flashed. But before we jump into the software, let's talk about the best way to get your own hardware projects built and looking better than ever. And that's with today's sponsor, PCBWay. PCBWay is your one-stop shop for all things PCB design, manufacturing, 3D printing, CNC, sheet metal fabrication, and so much more. They've even got an entire section of pre-made projects that you can just go ahead and have them print for you and then tinker to your heart's content. And if you have your own project, they have engineers on staff that will help you every single step of the way. It couldn't be easier. So head on down to PCBWay.com for a free instant quote. Thank you so much, PCBWay, for the continued support. You guys are absolutely awesome. All right, let's get back at it. All right, so here we are down at the desktop, and we're at the GitHub for the HaleHound. So now that we're down here, do the same thing you're going to do anytime you're on a GitHub repository that you like. Throw them a star. It's the least you can do. So what we're going to do from here is just simply scroll down. We're going to go to releases because we can download our releases there. Scroll down some more, and then we have our files right here. So we're going to need the bootloader, the boot app, and the HaleHound cyd.bin. So we're just using it for the cheap yellow display. We're not going to use launcher or anything else, so these are the files we want. So let's go ahead and download those. So it's pretty simple. You're just going to click on them. We're going to make a new folder because we want to keep things together. So HaleHound and then bootloader.bin. We'll save that there. Same for bootapp.bin. Save right there. And then we're going to go to partitions.bin. We need that as well. And then we need HaleHound cyd.bin. Save. Now what's cool too is he's got some more releases that actually support additional hardware because, believe it or not, you can actually add more hardware to this, like GPS or CC1101 or an NRF24 to make this thing even more useful. But for now, we're just going to use kind of the bare bones display, so we're just going to use those files. So now that we've got those downloaded, we're going to go to the absolute legend himself, SpaceHoon's website, spacehoon.com. If you don't know who SpaceHoon is, they have a bunch of really cool projects, and one of the things that I've used over and over and over again is is the ESP web tool. This thing is absolutely indispensable. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and take our ESP32 or our cheap yellow display. We're gonna plug it in with a cable that you know carries data. Very, very important. So if this next step doesn't work, your cable may not carry data. So before I do anything, we're gonna click connect. Because I have a bunch of ESP32 based devices plugged into my computer already, I like to plug it in when I can see the window, because with any luck, we're not going to hold the boot button or anything. With any luck, it'll pop up on screen and we'll see COM33 pops right up, so we know that's our cheap yellow display. So we'll go ahead and click connect, and then connecting. There we go. So you'll notice we have a bunch of files we can upload, and we can set the addresses over here. So what we're going to do is actually, let's go to the flash instructions. Let's download that as well, because the flash instructions should tell us what we need to know to install everything. So let's scroll down here real quick, and right here, this is what we want. So the first file we're going to use is bootloader. So we'll select here. We don't need thumbnails. Let's go to desktop, HaleHound, and we want bootloader.bin. And down here, we can see that bootloader goes to OX1000. So it's OX1000. And then we're going to select our second file, which is going to be partitions.bin. And partitions is at 8000. Next one is boot.app. Here's boot app. That guy lives at E000. And then we want our HaleHound CYD.bin right here, open. And that lives at 10,000. 10,000. If it looks like this, you should be ready to go. The best practice is, especially if you've used your CYD before, is to erase the flash, and that will get rid of any files that are on there that you don't need. And once that's done, we should be able to go ahead and flash it. Cool. So it says finish erasing memory. We'll go ahead and click program and continue. With any luck, this will go without a hitch.
Subscribe before it's too late.
Alright, so that kind of seemed like forever. So you'll know we're done and everything worked correctly if you unplug it and then plug it back in, and then something happens. Obviously, you can't see the screen right now because it's super bright. Let's switch to the top-down camera and see what it's all about. So here is our newly flashed cheap yellow display. Right now, we're going to do a touchscreen calibration. It's hard to see because it's white, but it's going to touch the top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. Cool. And that calibrates my screen. And then it says just press boot to exit, which should be back here, one of these buttons. All right, cool. So again, you can't really see the screen because the colors are inverted. But first, let's turn the brightness down so you can see what's going on. So at brightness 3, you guys can see the screen really well. One of the things that's going on is that these colors are actually inverted. I'm also going to turn the screen timeout to maximum, never turn off. Makes life easier for everybody to see. So right now, if we click the invert display button, it's actually going to change to the way it's supposed to look, because there's a bunch of different variants of the cheap yellow display. Oh, hello. And on some of these devices, it does screw the colors up if it's not the actual same screen driver. And this is HaleHound. He did a fantastic job with this. There's so much cool stuff going on in here. So if we go directly into Wi-Fi, check this out. This is one of the coolest things. Look at this packet monitor. So right now it's just showing the number of packets that are going through my test network. It's very cool. Right now we're on channel 1, but we can change it to different channels. Go to channel 2. There's still stuff going on channel 2. Channel 3, channel 3 is pretty quiet, but no, there's some packets going there too. It's a really cool way of visualizing network traffic. It's not one of those things you think of very often, but it's a great way to see exactly how your network works. Let's hop back to the main menu, and I'll show you some other tools we have here. Now, if you remember, there are things like sub-gigahertz that this can't do right now because you needed an added CC1101, but you can actually plug it into one of the ports in the back. It's super simple and super easy. Let's check out Bluetooth and see what's inside here. Now, one of the things we can do is go for a sniffer. So what the sniffer is going to do is it's actually going to try to find all of the Bluetooth devices within my test environment. But we have not one, not two, but 3 flipper zeros right in the background, so we should be able to see them right there. Now you can see that there's all of these devices within my test environment. So yeah, there's a lot going on here. Let's go ahead and pick one of these devices and see if we can find our flipper zero. Info. And yeah, there we go. That's one of my flipper zeros. It's a great tool, and it does a fantastic job of spreading awareness of just how many BLE devices we actually have. One of the other things that you can do with this, because you can see the RSSI, which is the signal strength, you can effectively fox hunt a Bluetooth device. So if there is a Bluetooth device within your environment, you can use this tool to find out where it is. Okay, so this is a really useful function right here. It's the whisper pair detect. So if you haven't heard, there's a vulnerability going out that can actually take over headphones or devices like that. I have my nothing ear headphones right here, and these, let's find out if they're vulnerable. So those should sit right there, and those will connect to my phone automatically. And let's go ahead and go to rescan. And now you can see that my nothing ear actually are vulnerable to this exploit. I do want to point out that this firmware can detect if your device is vulnerable to the exploit. It cannot actually do the exploit. It's so nice to have tools like this to show that we have vulnerabilities that I'd never even known about. So you all know I record my videos ahead of time, and in the time since I started this video, they actually added even more amazing features to HaleHound. So right here is an IoT recon. What this is doing is it actually went through and scanned my entire test network to see if there are any vulnerable devices or ports open. You can see right here there are in fact 2 different IP addresses with the port 80 open. My home lab server has an open port 80 because that is the web interface for it, and also my router. So that's perfectly normal to have those ports open, but it is really nice to see that this found and identified what could have been a vulnerability. And another really useful feature they added is what they're calling Wi-Fi Guardian. So you'll notice right now everything's all clear. Nobody's trying to do anything to my network that could cause any problems whatsoever. However, if somebody was trying to do something to my network, it might look like this. If we run that, boom, you can see automatically we have all these frames coming in, and it looks like somebody's trying to attack my network. Let me stop that real quick. And now we're back to normal. We can see the threat is cleared. So being able to see in real time if a bad actor is attempting to gain access to the network, this kind of tool is absolutely invaluable. Another tool that's absolutely invaluable is what they're calling the Lunatic Fringe. So effectively what this is doing is this is scanning for trackers. So if you think somebody may be trying to track you, this will scan for Google tags, Samsung tags, Tile, Chipolo, Apple, and more. It's a very useful thing to be able to do, and it's kind of like an anti-spouseware. So if you think somebody's, again, trying to track you around, this device is absolutely invaluable. So yeah, these are just some of the brand new features added to HaleHound since I started making this video, and there's probably more to come. So definitely keep an eye on this space. HaleHound firmware for the cheap yellow display is definitely going to be a very, very interesting project, so keep an eye on it. So this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the HaleHound firmware. There's just so many useful testing tools in here. I absolutely love this project, and it got me to take my CYD out of the drawer and install new firmware to it, which I haven't done in ages. It's absolutely awesome. If you're looking for a cheap and accessible way to learn the basics of network auditing, HaleHound firmware's got you covered. Are there any other cheap yellow display firmwares you'd like to see me cover? Leave a comment down below. As usual, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. It helps me out a ton. All right, we'll catch you next time.